Buzzing! Welcome to Blood, Guts, and Booze.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Kendrah. And this is a comedy podcast here to frighten you and make you question the world that we live in. So sit back with your favorite snacks and let's dive into this. Listener discretion is advised, as these podcasts are not for the faint of heart, nor are they PG. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Blood, Guts, and Booze. I hope everyone is having a fantastic September so far. How are you, Olivia?
Oh, I'm not too bad. How about you?
I'm all right. So, for today's case, I picked the horrible abuse and eventual death of Sylvia Likens. Sylvia Marie Likens was born on January 3rd, 1949 in Lebanon, Indiana. She was the third of 5 children, born between 2 sets of twins. Her parents were Lester Cecil Likens and Elizabeth Francis, who were carnival workers.
Interesting.
Oh, that says Leinster instead of Lester. Oh my. So Lester and Elizabeth had an unstable marriage. They had severe financial issues. They sold candy, beer, and soda at carnival stands around Indiana to make ends meet, basically. They would take the 3 boys with them to help with their job. And Sylvia and her younger sister, Jenny, were left with relatives, often their grandmother. When Sylvia was a teenager, she earned money babysitting, running errands, or performing ironing chores for friends and neighbors. She often gave her mother part of her earnings.
Aw, that's sweet.
She was described as friendly, confident, and lively. She had long, wavy, light brown hair and was known as Cookie by her friends.
I love it.
Sylvia was also extremely protective of her younger sister, Jenny. Jenny Likens had polio as a child.
Oh.
Yeah, it caused one of her legs to be weaker than the other, so she was bullied a lot for it.
Oh,
And
poor thing.
She had a noticeable limp and wore a steel brace on her leg. They would often go ice skating, and Sylvia would guide Jenny around the pond while Jenny skated on her good leg.
Oh.
By June 1965, Sylvia and Jenny lived with their parents in Indianapolis. On July 3rd, their mother was arrested for shoplifting and placed in jail. Their father then arranged for the girls to board with Gertrude Banaszowski. Probably pronouncing that wrong. I've tried 1,000 times.
Oh my god. I know this case.
Do you?
I do.
Uh-huh.
It took me a second, but I know this case.
Yeah. You might not know all of the terribleness of it, though, so...
We'll see.
So, they stayed there with a weekly boarding fee of $20 until his return to collect the girls in November. So just a few months, not bad. Sylvia and Jenny knew Gertrude's daughters, Stephanie and Paula, from Arsenal Technical High School.
It's an interesting high school name.
Gertrude, so now I'm going to tell you a bit about Gertrude. Gertrude Nadine Banaszowski was born September 19th, 1928 in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Whoa, that's fucking weird. This episode is out on her birthday.
Wow. Interesting.
That's
I did not
fucking weird.
I did not even do that on purpose, guys. Did not even do that on purpose.
That's
So,
fucking futs.
Not happy birthday to you.
Yeah, fuck you.
So she was born to Molly Myrtle and Hugh Marcus Van Fossen Sr. She was the third of 6 children. Yeah, say her dad's name 3 times fast.
I was going to try. And then I was like, no, I better not.
Hugh Marcus Van Fossen Sr. Hugh Marcus Van Fossen Sr. Hugh Marcus Van Fossen Sr.
Woo! Yeah. Also, quick tidbit. It is almost like fucking 100 years to the date, too.
Interesting. All right.
She's reaching out from beyond the grave.
I didn't tell you she died.
I just assumed because it was 1928 when she was born.
That don't mean shit. I seen on the news the other day that there was a lady that was born in like 18 something and she's still alive. Like 1898 or something, and she's still alive.
I mean, some people live to be over 100 years old.
Yeah, so don't just assume people died, Olivia.
Well, I'm assuming
I know that everyone always dies in my stories, but it don't mean they die, okay? Fine. Okay, let's get serious, please. So at 16 years old, Gertrude dropped out of high school and married an 18-year-old John Stephen Banisowski. They had 4 children together, Paula, Stephanie, John, and Marie. John apparently had a very violent temper, and he used to beat Gertrude, but they stayed married for 10 years. After her divorce, she married Edward Guthrie. This marriage only lasted 3 months, and not long after, she remarried John. They had 2 more children together, Shirley and James, and then they divorced a second time in 1963.
Damn.
Mm-hmm. So weeks after her third divorce...
Wow.
Yeah. 34-year-old Gertrude began a relationship with a 22-year-old Dennis Lee Wright.
Ooh.
And he also physically abused her.
Oh, never mind.
They had 1 child together, Dennis Lee Wright Jr., and after she gave birth, Dennis abandoned her.
Ooh.
Yeah. So then, by 1965, when the Likens girls came to live with her, Gertrude lived alone with her 7 children.
That's a lot of kids.
Yeah. She was 36 years old, 5'6", and only weighed about approximately 100 pounds. She was described as haggard, underweight, and asthmatic.
Wow.
She was also a chain smoker and suffered from depression. She got little income from her children's fathers. She would do odd jobs for acquaintances and neighbors like cleaning and sewing to earn money. So, shortly after the July 4th weekend in 1965, Sylvia and Jenny moved into Gertrude's home at 3850 East New York Street. Their parents were traveling to the East Coast with the carnival.
Ah.
So at the beginning, the girls were very rarely abused or disciplined. Sylvia often sang along with pop records with Stephanie, and she willingly helped out with chores. Both girls also attended Sunday school every week with the other children. Approximately 2 weeks after the girls arrived, the checks from Leicester started arriving late. Gertrude would take her frustration out on the 2 girls. She would beat their bare bumps with various items.
Oh.
The most common was a 6.4 millimeter paddle, and she would make statements like, "Well, I took care of you 2 little bitches for a week for nothing."
Ick.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of where I am going to say we're starting the trigger parts for anyone who's been abused.
Trigger warning start now.
Mm-hmm. On one day in late August, the girls were beaten 15 times in one day with the paddle.
Ew.
After Paula had accused the girls of eating too much at a church supper the children had all attended. Because that's gluttonous.
Yo, if they want to fucking eat, let them fucking eat.
Mm-hmm. By mid-August, Gertrude had turned Sylvia into her main target for the abuse. The abuse consisted of beatings and starvation.
Ugh.
Sylvia was forced to only eat leftovers of spoiled food out of the garbage can.
Oh, no.
On one occasion, she was accused of stealing candy that she had actually purchased herself.
Wow.
Yeah. On a separate occasion in August was the first time that Gertrude humiliated Sylvia. Sylvia was telling Stephanie about how she had had a boyfriend in Long Beach. Gertrude heard this and asked her, "Ever done anything with a boy?" Sweet, innocent Sylvia didn't quite understand the question and assumed that she meant skating, going to the park, or beach, and said, "I guess so." Sylvia did mention that she had once laid under the covers with her boyfriend, and Gertrude asked her, "Why did you do that, Sylvia?" Sylvia replied with, "I don't know," and shrugged. Several days later, Gertrude came up to Sylvia and stated, "You're certainly getting big in the stomach, Sylvia. It looks like you're going to have a baby." Sylvia thought that she was joking. Gertrude then explained to all the girls in the household that if you, quote-unquote, do something with a boy, you will become pregnant. To quote Mean Girls, to quote Mean Girls, don't have sex. You'll get pregnant and die.
What a good fucking movie.
She then kicked Sylvia in the genitals.
Oh, no.
Paula, who was overweight, 3 months pregnant already, and jealous of Sylvia, started her participation in the abuse of Sylvia.
Oh, no.
She pushed her off a chair and claimed that Sylvia wasn't fit to sit in it.
How old is Sylvia again?
She is 16.
Oh, my God, that poor thing.
Now, this is the part where I'm going to give our listeners a second trigger warning, because the abuse this girl suffered is completely appalling, and that was the light stuff. On another occasion, as the family ate supper, Gertrude, Paula, and a neighborhood boy named Randy Gordon Lepper force-fed Sylvia a hot dog. It was overloaded with condiments. Sylvia threw up afterwards, and then was forced to eat everything that she had thrown up.
Ugh.
Sylvia allegedly only retaliated against the abuse once. She spread a rumor at school that Stephanie and Paula were prostitutes. She apparently did this because she was upset that the household had singled her out. Then, one day at school, Stephanie jokingly made a proposition to a boy, and he told her that Sylvia had spread the rumor about her. When she got home, she questioned Sylvia about it, and Sylvia admitted to it. Sylvia then punched her in the face.
Oh,
no. Kind of fair. Sylvia began crying and apologized, and then Stephanie began crying too. Stephanie boyfriend did not have as much sympathy, though. 15-year-old Cody Randolph Hubbard heard about the rumor and attacked Sylvia.
Oh, no.
He slapped her and repeatedly slammed her head into a wall.
Oh, no.
When Gertrude found out about the rumor, she beat Sylvia with the paddle. On another occasion, Paula beat Sylvia in the face so badly that she actually ended up breaking her own wrist in the process.
Wow.
And then later on, she used her cast to beat her even more.
What a bitch.
Mm-hmm. Gertrude then began to repeatedly accuse Sylvia of being promiscuous and a prostitute. She would rant about the filthiness of it, and not long after began forcing Jenny to beat her own sister to avoid being beaten herself.
Wow.
Coy Hubbard, along with several neighborhood boys, began to visit the household on a regular basis. They would physically and verbally abuse her. Oftentimes, Gertrude and her children would be part of the abuse. Gertrude would actually encourage their behavior and let them use her as a practice dummy for the boys' judo sessions.
That's so fucked up.
Mm-hmm. They lacerated her body and burned her skin with burnt cigarettes over 100 times. Gertrude forced Sylvia, as a form of entertainment for her and the boys on one occasion, to stand naked in the middle of the living room and masturbate with a glass Pepsi bottle. Gertrude claimed that it was to teach Jenny what kind of girl her sister really was.
Ugh.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, Gertrude decided to forbid Sylvia from attending school. Sylvia had been accused of stealing gym clothes because Gertrude had refused to buy her any.
Well, and she's probably fucking looking pretty wrecked up right now. I can imagine she wouldn't want her to be noticed.
Mm-hmm. Gertrude then beat Sylvia with a 3-inch wide police belt, screamed at her about the evils of premarital sex, and kicked her in the genitals repeatedly. She allegedly only stopped because Stephanie came to her rescue screaming, "She didn't do anything!"
Good for her.
Mm-hmm. Jenny and Sylvia didn't report any of their abuse to family members or the school. They feared that if they did, the beatings would only get more severe. Jenny had been threatened by Gertrude that she would be treated the same as Sylvia if she said anything, and she was beaten any time that she got involved with Sylvia being abused. During July and August, Lester and Elizabeth would visit their daughters whenever the carnivals was close enough.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't notice any signs of abuse while they were on their visits, and the girls didn't speak up about it, likely because Gertrude was with them the entire time, like hovering. Yeah. And immediately after their parents' last visit, Gertrude said, "What are you going to do now, Sylvia? Now they're gone." At some point during this, the girls ran into their older sister, Diana Shoemaker, in a park. They had 11-year-old Marie with them. Sylvia mentioned to Diana that she was hungry, and so Diana gave her a sandwich. When the girls returned home, Marie told her mother what had happened, and Gertrude accused her of gluttony again. Paula and Gertrude then choked and bludgeoned her. The pair then gave Sylvia a scalding bath to cleanse her of sin, and whenever Sylvia would faint, Gertrude would grab her by the hair and bash her head against the side of the tub to wake her back up.
Wow. I think Gertrude needs a bash to the head against the side of a bathtub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's still not even the worst.
Oh, I know.
Not long after this, a neighborhood boy's father, Michael John Monroe, called the high school. He anonymously reported that a girl with open sores across her entire body was living in the household. Since Sylvia was not attending the school anymore, the school's nurse went to the house. Gertrude explained to the nurse that Sylvia had run away the week before and was quote-unquote out of control. She claimed that the sores were because Sylvia refused to clean herself properly and was a bad influence on her own children and Jenny. The school never made another investigation on Sylvia.
So sad.
Mm-hmm. In September, the girls had run into their older sister again in the same park. The girls this time confessed about the abuse that they had been suffering to her, and they explained just how bad it was for Sylvia. Diana assumed that they were exaggerating because of how bad the abuse sounded, and sadly, the girls forgot to give Diana the address.
Oh no.
On October 1st, though, Diana found out where the girls were staying. She went to the house and Gertrude refused to let her in, claiming that her parents had given her permission to refuse Diana entry. Diana was then ordered off of the property. About 2 weeks later, Diana ran into Jenny and asked about Sylvia's welfare, and Jenny only responded with, "I can't tell you or I'll get in trouble." The abuse on Sylvia began increasing more and more. Gertrude began claiming that Sylvia had said nasty things about her or one of the children to encourage them to abuse her. Because of the constant and increasing abuse, Sylvia became incontinent. And for those who don't know, it's when you have no control of your bladder anymore.
Mm-hmm.
She was denied any access to the bathroom, so she was forced to pee herself. But to punish her for wetting herself, on October 6th, Gertrude tied Sylvia up in the basement. She was often kept naked, rarely fed, and deprived of water. You can't go to the bathroom, but how dare you pee yourself? Logic.
No shit, eh?
Mm-hmm. Gertrude began charging the neighborhood children 5 cents to see the quote-unquote display of Sylvia's body and inflict torment on her. The torment included, but was not limited to, mutilation, beatings, and burns, and they also frequently, along with Gertrude of course, bathed her in scalding water while rubbing salt in her wounds.
That's so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, like, the neighborhood kids are participating,
Mm-hmm.
like, what the fuck?
Yeah. One of the worst moments of abuse was when Gertrude and her son John Jr. rubbed feces and urine from Dennis's diaper in Sylvia's mouth. She was then given half a glass of water and told that that was all that she would be having for the day.
Ew.
Uh-huh. I nearly gagged when I read that one. I was like, ugh. Sylvia was eventually allowed upstairs again, but when she had wet herself overnight, she was sent back to the basement. As punishment, she was made to insert a glass Coca-Cola bottle into her vagina in front of the children.
Ew.
Shortly after, Sylvia was called to the kitchen. She was ordered to strip naked, and Gertrude said, "You have branded my daughters, now I am going to brand you." She then began carving, "I'm a prostitute and proud of it," into
Wow.
Sylvia's abdomen with a heated needle. She was unable to finish and had 14-year-old Richard Dean Hobbs finish for her. Dean and Shirley then brought Sylvia back to the basement. Later that day, she was forced to show her carving to the neighborhood children while Gertrude told them that she got it at a sex party.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to make something clear too. I'm not even telling you guys all of the abuse. I'm telling the majority, but this poor girl went through so much.
She basically is being tortured.
Yeah, there's at least 20 things that I've skipped so far. Like, there's so much more abuse if you really look into it. But I could talk about it all day and it would just break your hearts. So later that night, Sylvia confided in Jenny saying, I know that you don't want me to die, but I'm going to die, I can tell it. The following day, Gertrude woke up Sylvia and forced her to write a letter. The letter was to put the focus of abuse inflicted upon Sylvia on a group of unknown boys. It claimed that Sylvia had run away, and when she agreed to have sex with them, they abused her repeatedly. Gertrude then went and told John Jr. that he and Jenny would be taking Sylvia to the woods and leaving her to die. After she wrote the letter, she was tied back up in the basement and offered crackers. She refused them and stated, "Give it to the dog, I don't want it." Gertrude then force-fed them to her.
You're not allowed to eat. And then when you do, like, what the fuck?
On October 25th, Sylvia tried to escape. She had overheard the plan to leave her in the woods to die. And because Sylvia was so weak, Gertrude was able to catch up with her before she got outside.
Oh, no.
She was force-fed toast, then beaten with a curtain rod until knocked unconscious, then dragged back to the basement. That evening, Sylvia tried her hardest to alert the neighbors by screaming repeatedly for help and hitting the basement walls with a garden spade. One neighbor heard the commotion, but because it eventually stopped around 3 a.m., she just decided not to call the police.
What the fuck?
On the morning of October 26th, Sylvia was unable to speak or use her limbs correctly. Gertrude moved her to the kitchen and attempted to give her a donut and some milk. When she was unable to eat and drink, Gertrude became frustrated and returned her to the basement. Shortly afterwards, Sylvia became delirious. Paula asked her to recite her alphabet, and she wasn't able to go past D.
Well, you beat the living fuck out of her. No wonder why she can't do anything. You've hit her in the head so many fucking times.
Yeah.
Like...
That afternoon, several of her tormentors gathered in the basement. She attempted her hardest to point at the ones that she could still recognize, while her arms were jerking. Afterwards, Sylvia again tried to escape but couldn't even make it to the stairs. As punishment for this, Gertrude stomped on her head.
Oh my God.
Shortly after 5:30 p.m., Richard Hobbs returned and went down to the basement, where he found Stephanie holding Sylvia crying. She had been ordered to clean Sylvia. The pair then decided to give Sylvia a nice warm bubble bath and dress her in new clothes. They then laid her in on one of the bedroom mattresses, and Sylvia's last wish was that her daddy was there and that Stephanie would take her home.
Oh, poor thing.
When Stephanie realized that Sylvia was not breathing, she attempted CPR, while Gertrude repeatedly shouted that Sylvia was faking her death while beating her with a book.
What the fuck? Give it up, bitch.
Sylvia Likens was only 16 years old when she died.
Poor thing.
Gertrude soon panicked and instructed Richard to call 911 from a nearby payphone. The police arrived at approximately 6:30 p.m., and Gertrude led them to Sylvia's body and presented them with the letter that she had forced Sylvia to write, claiming Sylvia had come home earlier that day bare-breasted, clutching the note. As instructed, Jenny told the officers exactly what Gertrude had told her to say, but at the end, she whispered, "You get me out of here, and I'll tell you everything." Because of Jenny's statement, Gertrude, Stephanie, Paula, John Jr., Coy Hubbard, and Richard Hobbs were all arrested. Of course, Gertrude denied having anything to do with it at first, but the next day she confessed to knowing that Paula and Coy had abused Sylvia.
Wow.
Sneaky fucking bitch tried to put majority of the blame on her daughter. She did admit to making Sylvia sleep in the basement 3 times when she had peed the bed. And when the officers told her that she had likely been wetting herself due to mental distress and kidney damage, she avoided the statement. Paula had no remorse. She signed a statement admitting to repeatedly abusing Sylvia, including the time that she broke her wrist and beat her with her cast, along with throwing her down the basement stairs.
What a fucking bitch.
John Jr. admitted to spanking her and using his fists on her. He also told officers that his mother repeatedly burned Sylvia with cigarettes. 5 other children who had participated in the abuse were all charged with causing injury to a person. They were Michael Monroe, whose father had called the school, Randy Lepper, Darlene McGuire, Judy Duke, and Anna Sisko. All 5 were released back to their parents under a subpoena to appear as witnesses in the trial. Stephanie and her lawyer were able to get the charges dropped for her involvement with the murder, as there was not enough evidence that she had been involved with the fatal injuries. She also agreed to testify against the other people who were still being charged and tried.
Good for her. Like, she's basically like, fuck my family.
Yeah.
They killed an innocent girl for literally no fucking reason.
Who was her friend
Yeah.
before all of this? They were friends.
Mm-hmm.
The trial for Gertrude, Paula, John Jr., Coy, and Richard began on April 18th, 1966. They were all tried together, all with first-degree murder charges, and 2 days earlier, the prosecution announced that they would be seeking the death penalty for all 5.
Fucking good.
Mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer in the death penalty, guys.
Eye for an eye, motherfucker. Know what I mean? Like, karma is a bitch.
Yeah. The lawyers of all the children claimed that they had only participated because they were pressured to do so by Gertrude, and Gertrude pled not guilty by reason of insanity.
Okay, whatever. Fuck off.
One of the witnesses was the coroner. He explained the numerous injuries that Sylvia had endured. The autopsy revealed that Sylvia's body had 150 separate wounds across her entire body. Each wound varied in nature, stage of healing, location, and severity. They included burns, severe bruising, and extreme nerve and muscle damage. All of her fingernails were also bent backwards. And also, the skin around her right knee, breast, face, and neck had all peeled back.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck?
Sylvia's vaginal cavity was almost completely swollen shut.
Oh.
With further examination, though, her hymen was unbroken, meaning that she was still a virgin.
Oh. But still, what the fuck?
Yeah, you get kicked in the vagina enough, that'll happen. Her official cause of death was a subdural hematoma due to a severe blow to her right temple. The shock that her body had gone through, along with malnutrition, were added to contributing factors. In my opinion, it's probably that fucking curtain rod or that last stomp.
Yep.
There were several testimonies during the trial, but the one that I found the most astounding was Gertrude's. She claimed that she had zero knowledge of the abuse that Sylvia had endured.
Wow.
Claiming that it must have all been done by her children and the children in the neighborhood. She claimed to be too preoccupied with her own mental health and that her house was always just a madhouse.
Whatever. What the fuck?
When asked if she had ever hit Sylvia, she claimed that she had started spanking her once, but had to stop because it was emotionally unable to finish and never hit Sylvia after that. Then denied having any knowledge of Sylvia being abused in her home. But don't worry, Gertrude was found to be sane. You look shocked and appalled.
No, I'm more like, what a dumb bitch. Like, nobody's buying your shit.
After a very hard trial, the jury found Gertrude Banisowski guilty of first-degree murder and life in prison. Paula Banisowski was found guilty of second-degree murder with life in prison. John Jr. Banisowski, Coy Hubbard, and Richard Hobbs were found guilty of manslaughter, each sentenced to 2 to 21 years. When a retrial was requested, Paula decided to not go to the retrial, and to avoid it, she just pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter. She was sentenced to 2 to 20 years, and despite trying to escape prison twice, she was released in 1972.
What the fuck?
Gertrude's parole caused a large uproar. Protesters gathered about 40,000 signatures against her release. And despite her still not taking any real responsibility for the crime, she had become a model prisoner, so she was released in 1985.
No.
All 3 boys served less than 2 years.
No.
Now, after they were all released, they all lived very different lives. So, Gertrude changed her name and relocated to Iowa. She died from lung cancer on June 16th, 1990.
Good, be gone with you.
Paula also changed her name after her release. She became a very loved aide to a school counselor. She helped many children. In 2012, though, her true identity was found out and she was fired. She lives a quiet life with her husband and 2 children, and the baby that she was pregnant with while abusing Sylvia was adopted out. Now, John Jr. became a lay minister, hosting counseling for children of divorced parents. Several years after the crime, he released a statement that he and the other children should have had harsher sentences, and that he's proof that people can be reformed. He died of diabetes in 2005. Stephanie also changed her name. She lives in Florida and is a teacher with several children.
Aw, good for her.
Marie, Shirley, and James were all placed into foster homes with new last names. Their father eventually regained custody of all 3 children, and Mary died of natural causes in 2017. Marie, Shirley, and James were all placed into foster homes with new last names. Their father eventually regained custody of all 3 children, and Marie died of natural causes in 2017. Dennis was adopted, and he died in 2012. Not much info on him.
Mm-hmm.
Richard Hobbs died of lung cancer in 1972, less than 4 years after his release. He allegedly had a nervous breakdown during that time.
Interesting.
Coy Hubbard continued to stay a criminal. He was in and out of prison multiple times, once being charged for the murder of 2 young boys.
Oh.
He was acquitted. And in 2007, a movie about the crime came out called An American Crime, and shortly after the release, he was fired from his job and then had a heart attack and died.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Jenny Likens got married and had 2 children. She was traumatized for the rest of her life, though, by what she and Sylvia went through. She was dependent on anxiety medicine and died of a heart attack at 54 in 2004.
Oh, poor thing.
Thankfully, though, 14 years before her death, she was able to see a newspaper clipping about Gertrude's death. She clipped it out and mailed it to her parents with a note that said, "Some good news. Damn old Gertie died. Ha ha ha. I am happy about that." She also repeatedly stated that 0 blame should be placed on her parents.
Yep.
The house where this horrible crime happened stood vacant for many years, but it was demolished in 2009, and it is now a church parking lot.
Interesting.
So now I got about a page of trivia for you. Sylvia always kept her mouth shut when smiling because she had a missing front tooth.
Oh.
On October 5th, 1939, at the age of 11, Gertrude witnessed her father have a heart attack and die.
Interesting.
Gertrude's monthly rent was only $55.
I wish.
Mm-hmm. A former police officer would occasionally help Gertrude out with money.
Interesting.
Jenny was bullied by the other girls in the neighborhood. The immediate neighbors, a middle-aged couple named Phyllis and Raymond Vermillion, visited the household twice during the abuse. They witnessed Paula hit Sylvia on both occasions, seen Sylvia with a black eye, and listened while Paula proudly talked about her abusive ways. They didn't make a single report about the abuse.
Terrible fucking people.
Uh-huh.
This whole thing, she could have still, well, not still been alive, but maybe if they had just said something.
Mm-hmm. While tied up in the basement, Sylvia was often tied to the banister high enough that her feet barely touched the ground. The abuse would stop, though, for the family to watch their favorite TV shows.
Oh, wow. Hold up. Stop beating her. Price of Right is on.
Mm-hmm.
Or Price is Right is on.
Mm-hmm. Sylvia bit through her lip during her death and partially completely severed off sections from her face.
Oh.
Paula can be seen smirking in her mugshot.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. I will show you after. There is a Facebook group in Sylvia's memory. The prosecutor compared Sylvia's abuse to the crimes committed in Nazi concentration camps. In June 2001, a 6-foot granite memorial for Sylvia was unveiled.
Oh, that's lovely.
And Sylvia is buried at Oak Hill Cemetery in Boone County, Indiana, and her gravestone says, "Our darling daughter."
I love that. We talked about Boone County in one of my cases.
Mm-hmm.
Well, which one was that?
I'm not sure. But yeah, that is my case. Thoughts? Or just dumbfounded with what the fucks?
Well, like I said, I have heard this case before, but I'm just more like flabbergasted that Gertrude would try to pull the "I'm a victim" act, like, and throw her kids under the bus. Like, what a piece of shit.
Yeah, she should have never been released. They should have fried her. Just fucking fried her. In my opinion.
Yeah, and clearly her daughter was just as evil as she was.
And then she went to go work with kids, but then as soon as they found out her real identity, they
They're
fired
like,
her.
Yeah, they're like, "Get the fuck out. We don't want you around children, man."
Yeah. Basically, it would set a principle for the whole school, like, "Oh, we hire ex-cons."
Yeah, well, it doesn't look good, especially on a public school.
If I found out she worked at my kid's school, I'd flip the fuck out.
Well, yeah, because the abuse she inflicted was on a child.
Yeah.
So it's like, I wouldn't want somebody who is a child abuser around children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So fucked up.
So what do you got for me?
Well, this week I'm going to cover another cryptid. This case isn't like super crazy long, but I thought this cryptid was kind of cool. So I'm going to be covering the Mantis Man this week.
Like a praying mantis?
Yes.
Nifty.
But it's like 8 feet tall.
Nifty.
Yeah. So
I'm into it.
before I get into the Mantis Man itself, I'm going to talk about some praying mantis facts.
They're cool as shit, okay?
They are fucking cool. Some of them are absolutely gorgeous. Like the colors, their shapes and shit. I love it.
One of my favorite Criminal Minds episodes was the guy who thought that he was like basically being a female praying mantis and killing people. And it was just fucking so weird.
I almost spit my water out there. All right. A praying mantis acquired their name from the praying pose that their arms make. There are around 2,000 different species of mantis.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's a lot. Most species live in tropical countries, and only 18 of them are actually found on the North American continent.
Okay. Like the green bitches.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think of. And then those really pretty pink ones.
Yes.
I like those.
They have a lifespan of 1 year.
Aww.
And weirdly enough, they are a relative to roaches and termites.
I wouldn't expect any of those to be related. Huh. Okay. Bugs are weird.
Right? I think they're super fascinating.
They're delicious too. What? Huh? Gross.
Shrimp and lobster. I love eating bugs.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mantids can camouflage themselves for hunting or hiding. Their jumping is agile and precise.
Okay.
They're actually predators, so they're carnivores. They
I did know that.
eat other bugs, but they will only eat live food. If it's dead, they won't touch it.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So they have...
So they're hardcore carnivores.
Carnivals. Woo, doo, 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 doo. They basically don't play a role in decomposition at all. And most insects do because that's part of the cycle. Female mantids sometimes eat their male friends, which is very common in the insect world.
I thought it was just them.
The female, no, spiders will do it.
Oh.
Yep, a female spider will eat a male after they've mated. And same with mantids. A female will rip the head off of her male friend mid-coitus.
I feel like humans should also develop a way to eat off a male's brain.
Well,
head
I
mid-coitus.
read that a scientist did a study when a female mantis would leave the male alone versus eat him. And the female that actually ate the head, something about the brain of the male basically makes her orgasm so much she produces like a bazillion times more eggs than the female mantis that leaves the male alone.
Oh. So it's like a kink.
Yeah, it's like
If I eat your head, I'm going to come so hard.
basically.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's neat.
That being said, females lay their eggs in the fall and use their own web-like material, which is similar to styrofoam, to encase the mantid babies, and it's easy to spot them on trees in the wintertime.
That's neat.
Yeah. I didn't know they had a web-like material.
I wouldn't have thought of like it being like styrofoam.
Yeah.
Huh.
Mantids have super fast reflexes. One article I read said that they can move their forearms faster than a human eye can blink.
Huh.
And another person said it was pretty much just lightning speed.
Cool.
They have 6 legs in total.
Sometimes.
I actually had one fly into my bedroom once, and he only had one of his praying arms. The other,
Aw.
it was like half gone.
Aw.
I caught him and put him in a container and put him outside.
Poor bastard.
He is cute as fuck.
What a sin.
He's just a typical green one. Their arms also have tiny spikes on them for holding things down while they're snacking. If an insect is within reach, it becomes a snack very, very fast. Some bigger species of mantids will even catch bigger animals than them, like frogs, lizards, and small birds.
Oh.
So, like hummingbirds or other small birds, a praying mantis will eat that.
And hummingbirds are also fucking lightning speed, so they've got to be fucking quick.
Oh, yeah.
But don't eat the hummingbirds.
Do you think it, like, rides them while it's, like, trying to take them down? It's like an action movie scene.
Maybe. I'm not okay. I like hummingbirds.
They're so pretty. Hummingbird moths are fucking sweet. Have you ever seen one?
No.
They look just like a hummingbird, but they're a moth. And I have a butterfly bush out in the garden out front of my house. And I saw one once this year, and I saw about 3 last year. And I almost shit at how fucking cool they look. Yeah! They look like a little shrimp that flies.
They're fucking creepy.
It's like a little flying shrimp
That's creepy.
that flies like a hummingbird. It's so cute. Meow. Their predators, though, include larger lizards like chameleons, large frogs, and large birds.
Okay.
And because chameleons have long tongues, it's just basically, yep. Some spider species are also known to eat mantids.
Like tarantulas and shit?
I would assume like larger spiders. So yeah, tarantulas, bird eaters. Oh wait, no, that is a tarantula. Mantids can turn their head 180 degrees. So they're part owl.
Like exorcist shit?
Yeah.
They're part owl. Oh.
Mantids have amazing vision. They have 5 eyes, and their vision is said to be a 3D vision, but it's different from what we know 3D as.
Interesting. It bothers me that they have an uneven number of eyes.
Right? Why is it 5? What do you have, 2 in one eye and 3 in the other? Or is it 2 and 2 and 1 in the middle?
Yeah, they got one of those, like, seeing eye things.
Ah, yes. An all-seeing eye.
They have the future telling.
The future. And that's why they go... They're praying arms and they're like, I can tell the future.
We figured out their secrets. We're gonna get attacked tonight, like
Oh,
locust
shit.
swarms.
The Men in Black's gonna show up or something. Scientists are trying to figure out how they can recreate that 3D vision for robotic purposes.
Probably be cool for movies and shit, too.
It would be cool for movies, not so much robotic purposes, because I don't know if I want robots to have intense vision or robots at all. Those are
Right?
that's scary robot. Oh my god. Some species only have one ear and others don't have an ear at all.
Weird.
The ear is actually located under the belly but before the hind legs. So kind of like belly button coochie area.
Weird. That's a weird place for an ear.
Yes. Let me just use my vagina to listen to what you're going to say next.
Do you think that it's, like, super loud when they have to pee?
What's funny is Kendra's not even high, and I am. And she's the one asking higher questions than I am. It's great.
I'm sober. Thank you. I am a sober person, and I am...
Not me. We
Proud
live in
of it.
Canada. Weed's legal.
Oh, thanks.
They
You
have
keep your devil's lettuce.
the devil's lettuce.
You keep your devil's lettuce.
They have 2 antennae on their triangular-shaped head.
Okay.
Triangular. Mantids use ultrasonic frequencies for hearing. They can hide from bats and other predators this way. So if a mantid is flying through the air and they hear a bat nearby with their sonar radar, they will dive bomb to the ground to hide and avoid being eaten.
Huh.
Interesting, right? And if caught, they show that they are not one to be fucked with, and they do not go down without a fight. They will slash their spiky little arms at bats when they're being attacked and try to fight them off. Yeah. Like roundhouse.
Roundhouse.
So those are all the mantid fun facts that I have for us right now. I'm going to now dive into the Mantis Man.
Excellent.
The Mantis Man was first seen in Musconetcong River, Hackettstown, New Jersey. It is a large humanoid praying mantis shape with green to brown skin color, I guess.
Coloring.
Coloring, yeah. But it is also still somehow transparent.
Okay.
And it is anywhere from like 6 to 8 feet tall in height.
That's a big boy.
Big boy.
Big boy.
Sightings have mostly been seen in water, and it has been seen trying to catch fish, and it's known to be very shy.
Aw.
Yes. Shy boy.
Shy boy. Maybe he just need a hug.
Oh, we'll give you a hug, Mantis Man. There are only a few eyewitness accounts of the Mantis Man. Most have happened, like I said, while fishing has been occurred in water areas, which is odd behavior for mantis as they don't really go into water. They're not a water insect.
Huh.
Most mantids spend their time on leaves or twigs in the bush. They may be able to tolerate like really small, shallow bits of water, like a puddle or something, but I don't think they're going to be able to handle a lot of water.
Yeah.
There is a show called Monsters and Mysteries in America, which featured 2 eyewitness accounts told on the show. One of the eyewitness accounts said, quote, "I'm chest high in the river. First thing I see was the grasshopper thigh, but bending forward like a human. Then the whole form. He is looking at me over his shoulder, moving up the bank, astonished and amazed."
Huh.
This occurred in Hackettstown while the man was fly fishing.
What state's this in again?
New Jersey,
Okay.
which is also where the Jersey Devil is.
Oh, yeah. Please tell me you're covering him eventually.
Eventually, the Mantis Man was so large that it could stand upright in the water without being sucked away downstream.
Mm-hmm.
It is said to be harmless. Like I said, it's shy. And if anything, it's just more scared of us than we are of them. The police also have another documented eyewitness account. That man is named Mr. Stickler.
Okay.
Yep. He had seen the Mantis Man also in a river. And I have a quote here from the cryptid wiki fandom, the Mantis Man page. It's a big quote. "I saw something strange a few weeks ago on the Mekong River near my home in Hackettstown, New Jersey. I was driving home from the drugstore on Newburgh Road. As I drove near the bridge over the river, I noticed something to my left. I thought it was just a fisherman. Standing in the river just off to the south bank, I slowed the car and looked closer. It wasn't a person, and it was transparent, like with a weird shape. It moved slowly towards the bank and into the trees. I drove further so I could see it coming out of the trees, and that's the last that I saw of it. It was tall, 8 feet or so, and had long, thin arms hanging off of it. The color was pale brown, but I could see through it. The head was small compared to the body. It was a sunny day, so I thought that it may be glare from the water, but after I thought back, I realized I wasn't seeing a mirage or glare. I checked the internet and didn't see anything about it. I mentioned it to a coworker in my office at lunch on Wednesday. He gave me the strangest look. I thought, uh-oh, he must think I'm nuts. We went back to his computer and he brought up the Hackettstown forum with the Mantis Man witness. Mantis Man believers that there is more than one roaming around and that it could have been released into the wild by someone who couldn't control it anymore. The reason why a lot of people think it's a mantis is due to the fact that it does things just like a mantis would. They've also seen it open its wings, it can camouflage, and the way that its like head is with its mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Just has a lot of features of a mantis.
Yep.
But speculators think it's just another animal and people are over-exaggerating the description. A lot of people also think it's just a hoax.
It's a bear. Everything's a bear.
It's a bear.
I'm going to say that every time you do a cryptid now. It's a bear.
Now, I'm going to go into some quick little fun facts, I guess, as there wasn't a super crazy ton of information and eyewitness accounts that I found on the Mantis Man.
Okay.
But I did find out that mantids have been wrote and talked about for the last 40,000 years.
Wow.
Right? There are actually pictographs in Egypt and other places around South Africa that show mantis-like creatures depicted as deities.
Neat.
Yeah. There are also pictographs in Iran of so-called mantis men.
Okay.
In 2017 to 2018, 5 rock carvings of mantis-like creatures were found in Iran. The drawings are believed to be 4 to 40,000 years old.
That's a big gap.
It is a big gap, but the reason for that is because they cannot give a proper date due to Iran not being able to utilize certain tests for radiocarbon dating.
Okay.
So I'm assuming the technology or chemicals or whatever they use to radiocarbon date is not feasible in Iran.
Not available?
Yeah, that's what I'm understanding is they're just not, those resources are not available for them.
Okay.
Phys.org states that it is super rare to find glyphs with invertebrates, which are animals without vertebrae. So no spine.
Thanks, Tips.
Yep. Well, for anybody that doesn't know,
I'm teasing you.
It's like the information's not more so for you.
We're
it's more
aware
for
that
us.
Kendra's an asshole.
Which is, in this case, it has drawn entomologists and archaeologists from all around the globe to these pictographs. Archaeologists have found Mantis Man pictographs all over the world. Some are displaying up to 6 legs. And most of the drawings that archaeologists have found have the signature triangle-shaped head and big eyes and the forearms of a praying mantis.
Okay.
Some of the drawings have the antennas coming out of their head. So some scientists believe, or I guess entomologists, believe that it could be portraying the empusa, which is a species of mantis. They have an antenna coming from their triangle-shaped head and the infamous praying mantis arms. They're actually, like, really fucking cool looking. If you want to check them out, we'll also post it on our Instagram
Yes.
when we post the Mantis Man. Or, like, the episode pictures. That's what I meant.
That's what I do. Kendrah does the Instagram posts most of the time.
Some scientists believe that cultures from thousands of years ago viewed mantids as a type of gods. They could have been part of some sort of ancient religion or just admired or even feared them during those times. I mean, for all we know, like our Yukon beaver eater episode, there were giant animals in a certain period of time. Kendra's making a face because she hates when I say the Yukon beaver eater.
No, I hate the thought of giant bugs. Remember I was talking about the fucking giant ass butterfly and shit? No.
Well, exactly. Like, what if, like, thousands of years ago there were giant mantids walking around as well?
Nope.
Right? So, people way back when could have seen possibly a giant mantid and been like, you're a fucking god.
Oh, holy.
Or they could have been completely terrified of them.
All praise the green man.
But scientists hope one day they have more answers as to what, where, and why these mantis pictographs were drawn.
Maybe it's an alien.
It's funny that you say that because I'm about to go into our fun facts here. The Mantis Man is actually featured in Portal to the World of Lego Dimensions. And some people believe that the Mantis Man is alien and can materialize and evaporate when coming or going from encounters. Is it an alien? Is it an escaped creature that some people think? Is it an undiscovered creature? Could it be a giant mantid that has survived the last 40,000 years or more? Or could it be a government experiment if we want to go deep into some conspiracies. I think it's an alien or a giant mantid that survived.
I'm going to vote alien.
Yep.
Because to me, little green men makes me think of aliens. Little green men.
Well, this is a large green
Well,
man,
it's a little green man.
I mean, there are aliens. Like, if you ever watch Ancient Aliens, sometimes
Yes.
I watch it when I'm a little too stoned, and I am baffled at how much things make sense, and then it scares me.
Like the
because
Egyptians?
just like any archaeology or just ology in general, when it comes to sort of pictographs and stuff, or hieroglyphs, any glyphs in general, I guess. You know,
All the glyphs.
there have been creatures depicted as gods
Like
that look,
Horus.
that look similar to insects or aliens, stuff like that. Like, I 1,000% agree that some of the gods that have been depicted in glyphs from around the world could in fact be aliens.
Perhaps. I'm open-minded.
It
To
makes
aliens.
sense. You guys know how much, especially me, but we are alien believers on this podcast. But yeah, I think it's alien.
I'm going to vote alien.
Well, I want everyone to comment on our Instagram and let us know if you guys think the Mantis Man is alien, government experiment, a creature somebody just released, and, you know, maybe like a mutated creature, mantid or something. Let us know. We want to hear your thoughts.
Also, one thing before we go today. Tomorrow, for all of our Canadians, don't forget to vote. VOTE.
Yes, your vote matters. Every vote counts. You want to help make a change in this country, that's the best way to do it.
You got plenty of choices, people. Just don't make the wrong one. We're not going to tell you what we would pick, but, you know, not that one.
I'm intrigued to see what the outcome is.
I'm interested.
Makes me a little nervous, but I guess we'll see who gets the majority. All right, though, you guys have a fantastic week. Go vote. And you, Kendrah, also have a great week.
You have a great week.
Everyone have a lovely fucking week.
Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Tune in next week.
Toodaloo.
Goodbye.
Special thanks to Dylan Sears for the theme song and Sally Gunter for the cover art. Support us on Patreon and like, share, rate, and subscribe to us on all of our social media pages and your podcast streaming service. Do you have any personal stories or suggestions for the show? Email us at bloodgutsandbooze@gmail.com.